Good evening. This is my revised game pitch. Excuse the hiccups; they cannot go away. The basics of the game. The game takes place in Prague, in Bohemia, present-day Czech Republic. Game year 1618. Name of the game: Defenestration of Prague. Number of sessions 4. Minimum number of players 12. Maximum number of players 25. We're gonna go for the minimum number of 12. Just because 25, it might get convoluted, so maybe I should probably cut it down. Well, maximum will be 20. I have a whole bunch of characters written up, but the mechanics of the game are gonna have to be ironed out, of course, if I go through into the next round. Now, for the more complex questions, what are the intellectual collisions? Learning objectives, intellectual collisions for the game. Excuse me. The intellectual collision from this event will be the interpretation of the Reformation movement in Central Europe, while also combating the transgressions of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, the Protestants at the time see the Catholic Church is a corrupt, self-serving body that must be purified. The popes, the clergy, everyone else that's been deceiving and corrupting Christians all over Europe for millennia, they have to be purified. Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic, had just outlawed indulgences less than a generation ago. Indulgences were pretty much buy your way into heaven without actually doing good deeds and being a good person. And with the help of Luther, John Calvin, the Bible, not the Pope, and traditions are the sole source of spiritual authority. They do not see the Pope as a legitimate source of authority, of godly authority on this earth. The Catholic Church, meanwhile, knew that they were losing a lot of believers because the further away you went from Rome, the less Catholics you saw. You went up north, you saw getting to Central Europe, modern day Germany, Czech Republic, all those Central, Southeast European states. They're all Catholic. They have mishmashes of Catholic, mostly Protestant, have mishmashes of Catholics here, Protestants there. It's a hotbed of religious tension because there's so much mixing, it's so widespread. You go down south, you go to Italy, you go to France, it's all Catholic. With the exceptions of like Ireland up north, it's like one Christian enclave. Everyone else is Protestant. So with these developments, the Catholic Church tried to self-reform through the Council of Trent. They reined in a lot of the abuses, the lying, the veneration of saints and communion were still a sticking point that both sides could not agree on. Like, how is that interpreted? The veneration of saints to the Protestants is just the veneration of a man. That's kind of sacrilegious to them. God, like they say, is the only source of spiritual authority, or the Bible. Now, with these developments, you got leaders like Ferdinand II, who became the king of Bohemia. And he was Catholic, a staunch Catholic. His predecessor was a Catholic, but he was very much realistic. He knew he could not force his will upon his most Protestant citizens. It will not end well. But not Ferdinand. He decided to use actual power to rein in the Protestants in Bohemia. In the case of Prague, church lands were seized that the local Protestants were planning on building 2 new Protestant churches. They seized these lands and they lied and said something else. Oh, we have to seize them for the crown. They never really openly said we're taking them because we know you're building a church on them. We don't want you to. And it becomes a big power play. The building of Protestant churches, of course, were banned, and then they had people who protested. They came out to protest, and they were jailed outright. No cause. There's no cause to jail them or anything like that. The intellectual disagreements have evolved into exercises in power, and a lot of folks in power are using the religious disagreements to exercise their power or to further their power over competing power players. Now, with a number of factions we're going to have 4 factions: Protestants, Catholics, and Indeterminates who are playing the middle ground and just really doing their job as diplomats, and spies and power players. And of course, I'm going to have another faction that I'm going to bring in there, which I will touch on a little bit. Number of players, of course, I said earlier, it's probably going to be 12. So far, we have delegates. The delegates are the folks who were there. As far as the defenestration itself, what happened was the Catholic Church, the Crown, the King, sent Catholic ambassadors to talk to them about releasing the prisoners. The talks were mostly about releasing the prisoners in the lands and just trying to smooth everything over with the building of the church and everything. They wanted to do it very smooth under the table. Well, the folks who were there, the Protestants who were there to come, were there to negotiate everything and talk about everything. They, some of them were interested in that. Some are interested in other things. Some are going straight for the letter of majesty. They want to know straight from the fact, straight from the mouth of the king. Are our religious freedoms going to be recognized? If not, what's the point of you being here? What's the point of you releasing all these prisoners if we're still going to be, preyed upon and persecuted for our religious beliefs? And one thing the players are going to have to do is you have to put yourself in the shoes of a 17th century devout European man or woman. To them, the religion was everything. If you took it away from them, what were they? They might as well just be dead. Of course, the Anabaptists or the other people. Now, the number of players and the names, yes. Number of players and the names. We're going to have Yaroslav Borata of Martinis, Willem Slavata, Adam II of Sternberg, Matthew Leopold, Philip Fabricius, and Gendrik Thurn. They're the people that we know were there. And there will also be a number of players who are going to be the crowd who is outside the castle. And there are going to be the local townsfolk who are, of course, very hot, riled up about the whole situation. You cannot be let in to a meeting of nobles, so you stay outside. But there will be other characters, possibly 4 or 5 characters outside to simulate a big crowd of 100 folks or more. Okay. Briefly outline. Okay. With each session, we're going to have the 4 sessions. The first session is going to be the protesters are going to be arrested. And the background of the prisoners will be revealed and all connections will be made to current players. It is going to be, the game will start. We're going to have the players who are the protesters walking around, pretty much doing a protest, a mock protest of church lands being seized by the crown for no reason. And it's going to end with them being questioned and then interrogated and imprisoned. Now, there's going to be certain mechanics to, what certain players can say or do while they're being arrested. Certain questions they can ask to make, to emphasize the point that is all about religious freedom. The second session is going to be the local Protestant leaders having a meeting of what to do about it. During the meeting, the game mechanic will have a Catholic governor suggest a meeting. Players will have to get together, debate, and figure out what to do. All characters have differing agendas. Some want to make peace just to save lives. Others see this as a transgression that can only be met with harsh violence. Others will have family members who are imprisoned, and they want to get their family member out no matter what. They don't really want to be a hardline negotiator. They want to find a way to make peace. There will be other characters whose whole job is to make peace. They don't want anything violent to break out. And you will have characters like Gendrik Thurn who will have their main role, their main mission is to rile up everyone and to not let this, go down as a peaceful meeting. They want to bring up the hot points, the really, really hot points, as like the letter of majesty. We want religious freedom. We want to just talk about these people that are going to be released and what's going to happen after they're released. And all of that is going to take place in the second session. The third session is going to be the arrival of the Catholic faction to start the negotiations. Moderates and power players will be in it just to further themselves as well. They'll be during this where there's going to be a hotbed. There's going to be negotiations on we need to release these men, and it's going to be asked questions about the law, about the power of the king, about religion. All of that's going to come in during this meeting. And then during this meeting, I'm throwing in the wild card. There will be an appearance by the Anabaptist faction. They're a counterfactual, by the way. They were not really there. They will show up uninvited and turn the meeting on its head even more. They're not aligned to any faction. They see religion in an entirely different light. Baptism is only for adults who know what is happening and welcome it. They don't see religion to be. They don't believe children should be indoctrinated into religion at an early age. It must be done when they're adults. That's why they call themselves Anabaptists. They don't believe in baptism until you're already a man or a woman. You know that you are in the religion. This is what you want. That's what you believe in. They are going to turn everything upside down. No one likes them. They want to be heard. They want religious freedom too. They live in the outskirts of town. The Protestants don't like them. Catholics don't like them. They think they're crazy. In our modern way of thinking, are they really crazy? Because they were thinking 400, 500 years ahead of themselves? The fourth session is going to be the deciding session. The fourth session is going to be even more complete chaos. Anabaptists want to be heard. Catholics want to put the vote, the session to a vote. They want to know what to do about the letter of majesty. The Protestants themselves, what does that mean for us? Are you going to negotiate? Are you going to take the hard line and ask for religious rights and demand religious rights? Will the Catholics let in? Will they relent? If you relent, that means your power diminishes. So someone has to get their way. The whole thing about this game is, can we actually have cordial talking on all these hot button issues? Can everything go the way it's supposed to, can everything go civil, or will it go the way it actually went? It will devolve into mindless violence, and some folks are going to get thrown out of a window. Some folks might get killed and shot and stabbed in the meeting. This is what we all must consider. The game can end when Catholics get their way. They can bully the Protestants to accept their terms. The Catholics can convince the Protestants can convince the Catholics that they have their right to religious freedom and they accept it, or resort to violence to get their way. Some people do not believe that. They believe resort to violence and will come into war and everybody loses. They do not want this to happen. The Anabaptists, of course, the wild card. Their whole thing to win the game from their point of view is to be accepted by two different wild Christian sects who don't who don't like each other, to accept them, who they see as even crazier. And also there is a possibility of sides working together, which is very, very slim because everyone is so riled up at the moment. Of course, like I said before, the Anabaptists are the counterfactuals. What second door sources should have consulted? There is the plight of the everyday people that I did not really consult and see what they really thought about the whole situation, with nobles fighting it out over religious freedom and they're just dying in the middle of it all. I will have to do more research on that one and send them in to you. Other than that, this was my presentation. I think I have a basis for a good game. The biggest roadblocks that I see with this game are folks who are religious. that can probably go bad. They have to remember to put themselves in the shoes of a 16th century devout 16th century Christian and how they felt about religious freedom and what it meant to them. The primary readings, I sent them to you with the stuff before. I think there are some more that I meant to attach. I'll attach them as well. The danger zones are religious folks, or people who might be religious in class, or they might be offended by certain things that are said or certain things that happen. But the danger zones still remain putting your modern Christian sensibilities onto the character. You have to keep yourself in the shoes of a 17th and a 16th century Christian. They are very, very, very religious. Religion means everything to them. You take away their religion, their way of life, you might as well kill them. You have to put yourself in their shoes. But this is it for my pitch. Thank you.